This afternoon, I have the pleasure of speaking from the gentleman from the Amatory Murder new album, The Sounds of Seven Angels, drops on June 23rd. This Brooklyn-based gritty rock band. Congratulations, guys. I've checked it out. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome. We're really glad to hear that.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much.
Listen, when you sit there and you decide to create this rock band, it's not doom metal, but you guys do take on the darker tones. What was it like to create this band and the persona that you were going with? I mean, some people live the image, some people incorporate the image. So fill me in. Let's start with Christian on this one.
Yeah, it's pretty genre fluid, I guess, as the kids say. Um, it's based on it started with my life experiences here in New York, which can be pretty dark, So I don't know. I just kind of write the way I write. I'm influenced by what I'm influenced by. And sometimes it's even poppy, but I think it's fun to dress it in a dark package. I do think that we pretty much live the life. I don't think
I'm the two of us do at least.
Yeah, I don't think anyone gets something different than they're getting from our shows. You know what I mean? When we go off the stage, I mean, maybe I'm not screaming as much, but
I am.
Yeah, he is, and I'm the same guy on and off stage. I think we all are. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we had the Dolls, we had Kiss, we had Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister, personality-wise, are pretty much the same guys on stage as they are off stage, minus the makeup. So it's always fun to like get a perspective of who's who when it comes to the music they put out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kiss is masters at it. It's like one of his favorite bands.
Kiss was my first concert, and I went to their second final night at MSG of their last shows, which was crazy. But yeah, Kiss is incredible.
You and Gene
Second
Simmons
final night of the third farewell tour, or
they did two nights in 2023 December, which was December 1st, which was a Friday, and then December 2nd, which was a Saturday, which was their
the farewell tour.
Yeah. And the cool thing was the first time I ever saw them in 2003, they were on tour with Aerosmith and Saliva. And I was like 12 years old, and my dad took me. So that was really special. And when I went the final night in 2023, my dad was with me again. So yeah, so Kiss always has a very, very special place in my heart.
I dig it. Yeah, no, guys,
He's very theatrical on stage. Yeah.
Well, I want to see you guys live when you come to Southern California. I'm looking forward to it. But we know with the latest track, the single dropping, Velvet Noose, which is my favorite song on the album thus far. How did the writing process for this song come about? And was it more so, something poppy that you were listening to, something, because there's 70s influence, there's a bit of 80s influence, Christian, your vocals are soulful, Binx, your bass playing is incredible as well. Please excuse me for stammering a little bit. I didn't sleep well last night, so that kind of happens from time to time for me. But like when you get to,
I never sleep well. It's okay.
Well, you guys are nocturnal. I'm an early bird, so
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like those Gen Xers that are like, we got nightclubs and concerts at 5 p.m. Awesome, let's make it happen.
This track in particular, Binx came in with a really good bass riff, and that I resonated with. I felt, and you can explain it.
Yeah, but basically the way that came about was the original riff, like the slap part in the beginning, was written in 2018. I'm a really big fan. Eric Avery is one of my favorite bass players, and he kind of does that slap punk stuff basically. So I had that riff with it, and Scott, our drummer, he just went into the studio and wrote the rest of it basically, and pretty it was like a song to have an excuse to slap. And then we gave it Christian, and then he did the lyrics and put all this incredible like programming and synths over it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
Sorry about that. We dropped. Sorry about that. We'll fix that. Zoom does that from time to time. So sorry, Christian, you were saying?
no problem. Yeah, so this was one of the riffs that like Binx, yeah, brought in, and he started messing around with Scott. And for me, I was like, oh man, that's kind of got like a Led Zeppelin, kind of 1970s vibe to it. Even, I even told Scott, like, try to do those Bonham drums during the verse, because those fills I think would be really cool. And then lyrically, I sat with it for a while, and I've always been really interested in the Milgram experiment. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that.
Hmm.
But there was this Stanley Milgram was this doctor. He was I believe a psychologist, social psychologist, and he was from New York actually, and he was very like, he wanted to understand how, we're getting a little dark here, but how Nazi Germany could have happened. So he had all these experiments he conducted. He would hire an actor to play a doctor, like a guy in a lab coat, and then he'd have real people come in to his practice, and he'd tell them, listen to whatever this doctor says, and no matter what, and they signed a waiver, and they were brought into this room, and there'd be another guy behind a wall, and they would have to ask that guy some questions, like, what's 2 times 2, and things like that. And the questions would get a little harder and harder, and every time they got it wrong, the doctor would tell this person to administer a shock to the person behind the wall. And the shock extreme, the longer the test went on. And but to the point where like the people on the other side of the wall would be like, oh, I'm having a heart attack, please stop. And then these people would be like, what do I do? And the doctor would be like, just keep going, I told you to keep going, don't worry about it. And the thing with this test, so he wrote a paper about it, Stanley Milgram, and it was something crazy, like 80% of the people just kept going just because the authority figure told them to.
Right.
And some people stopped, but the majority didn't. And silver lining is, on the other side of the wall, the guy was actually an actor too.
Right.
So no one was actually getting shocked. But that really stuck with me. So I don't know, the kind of like vibe of the song, and then I don't know, I really, it kind of poured out of me after I started writing the lyrics. I mean, I think I had it down in like a day,
Yeah, it kind of turned into something that at least I didn't expect it was going to be in the beginning.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I didn't even think it was going to be the first single.
Yeah.
Like,
and especially that little bridge that him and Jake and Scott do, it's very like Alice Cooper sounding to me. So that was a lot of fun to play around with.
Yeah.
And you can like dance around to it too. I like to sing about things that are a little more like thoughtful, you know what I mean? Not, let's go to the club and fuck, like
Right.
Everyone does that.
That's fun sometimes though.
That is fun.
Well, sorry, I forgot about it. Was Dr. Milgram's name. I was like, but when you refresh my memory with the study, it's always interesting how people will appeal to authority. And like, I was having a conversation with a couple of friends of mine the other day about like all the people that wrote all the parenting books in the 80s that didn't have kids, but because they had doctor behind their name, they were the experts all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah.
And I think that's a central theme of this record, is kind of, I like everyone to be able to interpret like my lyrics and everything as they want. But I think the central theme of the record from start to finish is kind of like, how do you deal with authority? And, if the authority is wrong, or you feel that it's wrong, but everyone else is telling you it's right,
Man, you guys would have gotten banned 5 years ago.
Yeah. Why do you think it took so long for this to come out?
Yeah. But as we play around with the songs, and then realizing which way they were going to be displayed on the album, you know, and setting up the order, there's always a science behind it of what's going to be track 1, 2, etc., going all the way down through 10 tracks. You know, how did you decide on the layout in deciding which positioning of the songs are going to be on the album?
That's a really interesting question, actually,
Yeah.
because like some of the songs, like the way it's presented in the track listings, some of the songs were designed to go after each other. Like originally, the opening track, Isolation, was always going to go first,
Yeah.
etc. But when I wrote that track, that intro, like I designed our song "Say" for Doomsday to go directly after that musically, like because it's all in the same key and everything. And then I think originally, like Lessons for the Damned was going to go last. It was going to be the closer.
Yeah,
like we had talked about it.
like changes. You know, the more you get involved, the more it starts molding itself. And I think I towards the end, I came to the guys and I was like, listen, like the story that I'm telling would kind of work in this order a little better. You know, so there would be like an arc and that kind of thing. It's a concept album, so I didn't want to, you know, put the ending in the middle and think, you know, it's like a novel, you know, like I feel like I lyrically am writing a novel.
And it's funny too, because like, you know, when you write things like the way I wrote Isolation and Doomsday, for an example, like you kind of get married to that originally, and then you're like, no, I don't want to do this at first, and then like then you lay everything out, and then you kind of just like see it, and then you like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that works.
Yeah, you know, when you're I'm very grateful these three guys in the band that are like my brothers, you know, they're my best friends, and so we kind of like try to let go of our egos, you know, when it's like, yeah, when you hear something over and over, you're like, oh, well, that's how it is, but no, it could be this, you know.
Right.
So there's a lot of that, like trust too, you know. They trusted me when I said, you know, I think it'll tell a better story if it's laid out like this.
We've also just been together for so long at this point,
Yeah.
like so.
And also, you know, the full record before this one was called Singularity Complex, and it was released in the middle of the pandemic, and this kind of picks up where it left off in a weird way, because Singularity Complex was very much about, you know, being isolated and all you have is technology and becoming one with that technology, you know.
And I also think it was about like love lost a little bit too,
and love lost and all that.
And Singularity is kind of a loose concept record.
Yeah, this is more
like, and this is more of like this has a story type of deal. So this was like a preview leading up to it.
Right. You know, since we mentioned Kiss before and Elder was a concept record, so people always get a little worried when they hear the phrase concept record, but from start to finish, this is thoroughly enjoyable, and I can actually pick tracks out at different times to play it. But I also enjoy the fact that I could sit through it, the entire album, and listen to it from start to finish and get a different vibe as well.
Oh, thanks, man.
That means a lot.
That means the world.
You know, one of my favorite albums growing up, two of them, was The Wall by Pink Floyd and The Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails. So, you know, for somebody to be like, hey, I can sit through this and, you know, it goes by and then I could pick out what I like. I mean, that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, like if you guys weren't talented to do it, you know, you couldn't have done it, and you pulled it off. So that's fantastic. Yeah.
I was going to say that this record like loosely kind of reminds me, not necessarily like musically all the way, of Antichrist Superstar a little bit. Just like I'm a huge Marilyn Manson fan.
Kind of figured from the shirt.
Yeah. but I'm
a huge George Carlin fan.
Yeah. But I can't like records like that. Like to me, Antichrist Superstar is kind of a loose concept record, etc. And like, but like some of the weird little niche ticks on it like remind me of what we're doing here. Same with like parts of it with The Wall and you know, Downward Spiral, etc.
Is it always interesting as a musician, as a band, where you sit there and you put your heart and soul into the album and you're like, this is the A side. And for kids, albums used to come with a front side that was called the A side and the back side that was called the B side. Now it's just streaming or even in CDs where it just went straight all the way through. But like, this is our A side album. This is, you know, the big one that like hits with you guys, and then all of a sudden you present it to the world and then a song that obviously you guys wrote it and you enjoyed it, but you didn't think was going to resonate as much, resonates more with the crowd? And is there one that you
Yeah,
can think of from the previous album, or, you know?
Actually, to me, the perfect example, that Dystopian Holiday.
yeah,
Like Dystopian Holiday was originally written in 2021, and we were all just hanging out in the studio, and we're like, just for fun, let's write like a Christmas song. And like we wrote the
I
song.
wasn't feeling very Christmassy in 2021 in New York City.
Yeah,
If you pick up what I'm putting down.
yeah.
Kinda.
And then like and we had our, at the time we had our old guitar player, so he played on the original recording, and we started playing it live, and like the crowd really liked it, and like we started vibing with it. And then when Jake came back, he put all these new parts over it, like, and we're just like, this is great. And we decided to re-record it and put it on the new record. So that song actually like was intended to be kind of a throwaway song.
Mhm.
And
It's
but
so,
it's like, one, it's got a lot of like meaning to it, like lyrically, and two, like it's just so, it goes over so well live.
yeah, people really, it feels like a stadium song when we play it live,
Yeah.
the way people react.
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned Saliva earlier, and I had seen Saliva perform with Three Doors Down once, and they were better live than they were on the recording, and that says a lot to the engineering. And you guys are great on the recording. I haven't seen you live yet, and I'm almost hoping that it's that same effect of like, wow, the album sounded great, but they sound even better in person.
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like it too because certain songs I feel get more energy live. Like there's energy on the record. Like another good example of that is Doomsday.
Yeah.
Like Doomsday was kind of, when we wrote it, like Christian and I wrote it together, and we said like, oh, let's do like industrial electronic drums on this, etc. Excuse me. And then we do it live. Obviously, Scott's playing a live kit, so it gets a little heavier live. So there's like different interpretations of the songs live a little bit. But yeah,
It depends on the crowd. Certain crowds resonate with certain songs. But I personally, I don't like to rely too much on technology, so I like to recreate as closely what's recorded live. Like we don't do backing track guitars or anything like that.
no, the only thing that's on track is keys.
Synths, soundscapes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Freddie Mercury made a big deal about that, and he was scared for the future of music with technology taking over everything.
Yeah, he was right. And Lars was right too.
That might not win you over some people, but no, I love
you can edit that part out, please.
No, no, but I understand where you're coming from. But you know how people are, they clinch onto things and they won't let them go. But with this new album of yours, everything from start to finish, it's polished, it's clean, in the sense that of consistency. Like it's still raw and it's still rock and roll, but it's not obviously over polished. What I mean polished is that like the sound is consistent, the performances is consistent, like it's legitimate. It doesn't feel like it was a Frankenstein monster just pieced together and is going to be released in June.
Thanks. Yeah. We're really lucky to work with a really great team of mixing engineers and stuff like that. Jonathan Jetter is the guy who mixed and mastered it.
He does all our stuff. He's great.
Yeah, he's done. Once you find the people that are understanding of what you're trying to do and they get it right, after so many times, you want to just keep using them. So he's a big part of that.
I dig it. And Jonathan seems like almost the fifth Beatle in this regard.
He kind of is, like, in a weird way.
He's the he's the techie guy. I mean, I record and produce all of our stuff in our studio,
Mhm.
but then I bring it to him and I'm like, this is what we're going for, like, and he just knows what to like bring up and pick out and smoothen out, and so yeah, I guess he's a bit of a George Martin in that sense.
Yeah. With the latest album itself, Sounds of Seven Angels. Obviously, you guys aren't a Christian band, but there is a Christian element to that with the seven archangels themselves. How much of theology, whether pro or anti, the band is gets incorporated into this because you get to see that influence in the title alone.
I think that's a really good question, actually.
Yeah.
You know, this whole record is about individuality, you know, but there is this like pushback, like especially, you know, as you get closer to the end, pushing back on authority. And this battle of kind of good and evil. And you know, I myself am a Christian, but I wouldn't say this is no way a Christian band. But you know, I think you know, I think the Book of Revelation is just really good writing. And I thought it'd be really cool to have this character kind of like that was such a slave to like this authoritarian state in the story, to kind of like, all right, well, it's either you or God, you know. So that's kind of like, I feel this is dichotomy the right word? I don't know if that's the
Yeah,
right word,
that
but
works.
like this kind of like
Yeah.
push and pull that
Right.
takes place. And I think I think the imagery of, you know, this sounds of seven ain't just, it's just hearing those words, you can imagine things. And actually the guy who did the album cover is this guy Steve Witzel,
Yeah,
based out
Steve
here.
did a phenomenal job on
And
the
I
album
said,
cover.
you know, I want a dystopian looking city, you know, with like this impending apocalypse happening. So it's this fight between, you know, the good and evil and authoritarian and self and God, and you know,
So
there's
LA.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, LA, New York.
Yeah. Basically.
You know,
I like you, man.
Yeah.
thank you. I like you guys too. You guys are fun. Thank you. Thank you for tolerating my stammering because I didn't sleep that well. So yeah. No, I'm originally from San Francisco, so I know what dystopian looks like.
Oh, definitely. Okay. Yeah. We could talk more off camera. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, we were surrounded by a lot of that stuff that happened. And you know, it's definitely influenced a lot of my lyrics, I'll say that, you know.
Yeah. And it also doesn't help that everyone was stuck in their apartment for months on end that were, 400 by 400 square feet.
Oh yeah, especially here. Especially, oh well, yeah, San Francisco, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really something. And you know, that's what like that made, I think that made us stronger as a band, because you know, we still like, we would have virtual meetings and we were sending each other ideas for riffs. You know, when we all agreed things could be like safe or whatever, we'd go to the studio, and it made music that much more important, because a lot of bands like broke up, a lot of musicians stopped, and
Yeah.
we kept going, and
We did like several live streams
we
too.
did live streams.
Like,
But music was, you know, that's the thing. No matter how bad things get in society, like, you know, you have music and you have your mind, you know, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take away your creativity or your thoughts, you know.
Yeah. No, and this album is fantastic because you touch upon the darker side of things, but there's still, and you mentioned Alice Cooper earlier, there is that Alice Cooper level of hope, because Cooper himself says when he writes his songs, it's on the darker side, but he still has like the consequences of the darkness in there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, that's funny you brought that up, because I just watched an interview with him like last week, where he said something like that, where he's like, you know, I love the beauty of darkness, but you know, there's hope in darkness, and there is, you know, like
it really is.
we you know, we have a somewhat dark aesthetic, but it's a beauty, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And I believe in the yin and the yang. You know, you can't have light without dark and dark without light. You just, you know, you need both.
Right. You know, as everything develops and the album's getting ready to be released, we're ramping up to the release date in June. You know, what is the buzz like? Because you've had other albums be released, but that, the last one was during the pandemic, and here we are where we can actually get together and, for the record release party and for things of that nature. Like, what's the amp up like that versus, hey, we released it, but we couldn't do anything with, in person for it.
It's great. It's really good. You know, and I feel like there's a lot more support behind it, just because people are able to be around, and we've toured more. We've toured a lot more, so we have more people, more fans, and there's more just excitement for it. And and the four of us really wrote this one together, where it's like we wrote them together, but it would be like, here's my skeleton of the song, let's mold it, or like they would bring me an idea, and like vice versa. But we all sat together and did this one.
Like Singularity Complex was primarily Christian and our old guitar player, and then like I think Scott and I had like one or two songs that were ours, and then like but this one, like he was saying, was just basically we have everything laid out, and then everybody puts their own parts in. Even if somebody came like with a skeleton for something or whatever the case is, like all the guitar parts on this record for the most part are Jake.
Yeah, the buzz is good.
Yeah,
in answer to your question.
Yeah, no, I'm just thrilled for you guys because of how everything's developing, and we're looking forward to like making sure everything goes the way it does. I do also have to ask, how did Jake get the nickname Motormouth?
He's gonna hate that.
He's gonna hate it. But
if you ever meet him, you will know why.
I will say this. We've known Jake
we've known him for quite some
time, and we love Jake very, very much. But Jake never shuts the fuck up, to put it really simply. And
he's a very excitable young man.
Like if he was sitting here for this interview, like you could say one little thing and he would just go like a machine gun, like
you remember Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters?
Yes.
Yep, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like when he's like hitting on Sigourney Weaver in the hallway. Okay, see you later. Give you a call. I'm gonna have a shower.
While playing guitar, though, but it's acoustic.
Yeah, pretty
much.
Yeah, but he's
worth it.
He's one of the most loveliest, sweetest humans you will ever meet.
A beautiful guy.
All right, Jake. They're saying this all with love.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited for you guys with the album itself and its release in June and everything that's coming along with it, and you guys getting more success for it. Are you guys going to primarily tour on the East Coast? You guys going to come out west? There's a couple of big metal festivals coming up. I know there's one in Kentucky and another one in Tennessee. So like, how does the touring look like with that, especially getting on a festival circuit as well?
So we're laying the groundwork for that. We have in June, we're hitting up a few places. We're doing one festival in West Virginia. I know we have
Slamteenth, right?
Yeah, Slamteenth.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sins of Eden.
Yeah, our boys.
And then I know we have something in the fall. We're kind of filling in everything right now, but we're really excited. We've the last like year or so, we really hit the road a lot, and we've met some really awesome people and played with some really awesome bands. So we're revisiting some places, and the festivals we're going to go full steam ahead. So.
Nice. And primarily sticking on the East Coast right now as everything's getting laid out.
I think we're trying to get back out west again. We went out there like 2 years ago, and we had a great time. I think the last stop we played out there was San Diego, and we had an amazing time.
We were at Brick by Brick.
Yeah, it was an amazing.
It was awesome.
So we'd like to get back out there.
Well, San Diego is definitely the right place if you like beer, because the breweries are incredible over there.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The breweries are actually dangerous. They'll sit there and like, this is 5% ABV, and then you try it and you're like, 5% really? It's like way stronger.
That does feel familiar.
I just gotta say, because we're talking about this for a second. I remember when we played San Diego and we got off stage, and I'm a cold weather person. I love the cold, my usual thing. And I'm not a big beer drinker. I like, vodkas and tequilas more, etc. But I was so hot and sweaty when I got off stage that night. It looked like I'd just gotten out of a pool and was so hot outside, and I had a really icy cold beer. I don't remember exactly what it was. I was just like, this is heaven right now.
Yeah.
Well, you're also an hour away from Mexico, so if you wanted tequila, you're perfectly set for it.
Yeah. The food was amazing too. I mean, everyone
awesome.
was great. San Diego was and weather was beautiful.
Our tour mates were great. It was just
went to the beach on a day off. That was nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled for you guys and the fun that you're having and making sure that you guys are on that upward trajectory. for people that want to sit down and listen to the album itself when it's released, full album. I mean, we got our singles really, we got our single release right now, but when we want to sit down for the full album, do you recommend just like turning down the lights a little bit, almost Dark Side of the Moon-esque, and just sitting there, closing your eyes and listening to it all the way through? Or like how some people will sit there and go, all right, I'm going to try track 4 first, then I'm going to try track 7, then I'm going to go back to 1. Like, how would you recommend, especially for an album like this, for people to get in the mood for it?
I think you could go right in the middle, but I think if you're an album person, you said Dark Side of the Moon sitting down. I don't think it's a play in the background kind of album. I think it's a musical journey.
I think once people get familiar with it,
Yeah.
then you can kind of do, the like pick your favorite. Like one of the greatest records ever recorded, in my opinion, is American Idiot by Green Day. And that's a record where if you sit down and you listen to it from start to finish, there is a very obvious story going on there.
Yeah.
And all the songs on that record are very catchy. So because I'm so familiar with it and I love it, I can go and just go and pick my favorites,
Yeah.
etc. This record is something that you would want to like,
I would say smoke a joint,
yeah,
turn the lights down,
and like just put some candles on type
Yeah,
of deal, and like
get
listen to it.
comfortable. Get comfortable. Be prepared to go on a journey with a variety of different emotions.
Yeah.
And you led right into my next question, because you mentioned American Idiot and how they turned that album into an entire show on Broadway. How would...
I actually, sorry, not the Broadway version. I auditioned for that show
Okay.
for the touring company, and I didn't get it, but still, but I saw it multiple times when it was on Broadway. I saw it with Billy. I saw it with the original cast. So, but yeah, it's great. Sorry.
Which leads me into asking, how do we turn this into one of those Broadway type shows with the sounds of Seven Angels?
I would love that.
That would be incredible.
Get us some angel investors. No pun intended.
Yeah. Since you beat me to it with bringing up Green Day.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a cool play.
It would be really interesting because what's funny is like I feel like not to compare American Idiot to the sounds of Seven Angels, Green Day's a little bit poppier, like type of deal, but this is also, like Christian was saying, like they're basically pop songs is dressed up in darkness type of deal. And some of the songs, like some of my favorite tracks off the record, are actually some of the interludes, like Desert Song or Inside, Outside Inside, etc. So it could be really, I don't know, it could be very interesting stage play.
Yeah, Tommy's another great record that I listened to growing up, and I think that became like a play, right?
It totally did. And we brought up Freddie Mercury earlier. They did the Queen musical "We Will Rock."
Roger Waters did the Wall, or I think Pink Floyd did the Wall live.
Yeah,
like before I was born. But I think I would love. Yeah, it's funny. I never even thought of that till you brought it up, and I think that'd be so cool.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah,
and I even
we're gonna put it out into the universe.
Yeah, I even think that like with the upcoming shows, like especially the record release show, there's just a lot more because this record is so theatrical, in my opinion. Like there's just to the live shows, there's going to be a lot more theatrics visually, like costume wise on stage, etc.
And that's one thing I want to ask in regards to that before I let you guys go, because there are bands like we mentioned Kiss, love Kiss, huge Kiss fan myself, but where they'll look at them as a theatric band, and then you'll have Alice Cooper and Rom Zombie, where it's the combination of theatrics and music. And then how do you find the balance between the two of not, because Ghost also does the same thing, and I hate to use this phrase, but for people that, for a lack of better choice, a gimmick set up like that versus a, performance that has visuals.
Yeah. All great bands, Ghost, I think Ghost is really incredible, but like that's also, and no disrespect to them, that's their shtick. You know what I mean? Like, I think, one of the bands I really love, one of my favorite bands is Muse, and they're phenomenal musicians, and they have like an element of theatrics to their shows, but it's balanced out. It's not full on, like Ghost is dressing up as priests, and it's a whole like it's over here, you know, where Muse is a little more center in the other direction.
Right.
And I think that's more of where I see us, you know.
Yeah, I also have to harp on this because I saw him a week ago, like in concert. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge Manson fan. Like he was known for doing all that back in the day as well.
Right.
And with his comeback tours that he's been doing, outside of having a phenomenal backing band with him, like he's still doing like, you know, the makeup and all the platform boots and all that kind of stuff. But the music, first off, the songs, especially off the new record, are so damn good. But like the musicianship of everybody on that stage is really tight. So you feel like you're going to see a show, like a theatrical show. And but like those are musicians, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's what we're trying to do too, like basically, and I think we're kind of succeeding at it.
Yeah, for me personally, it's music first.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, like the makeup and all that stuff. That's just like how
that's just fun.
Yeah.
And do we have
That's
a
just like
location?
everyday life.
Oh, I'm sorry, Binx. I was going to ask, do we already have a location for the record release party?
Yeah, the record release show is going to be
one of our home bases.
Yeah, Lucky 13s, which is an amazing venue in Brooklyn, New York, on Saturday, June 28th. And we got some awesome bands on there too.
Yeah, we got direct support from our good friends, our brothers in October Noir, and then Automaton and None Shall Remain is opening.
That's a big one for us. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled for you guys. I wish I could be in Brooklyn for it, but I'm out here on the West Coast, so it's not going to work out that regard. But at least I got the album, so I'm thrilled with that.
Oh, we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
So where can we find you guys on social media if we want to keep the conversation going, let you guys know what we think of the album and how we're enjoying ourselves listening to the Amatory Murder?
We're very active on Instagram at the Amatory Murder. We have a website, murder.com. Yeah, those are the two big ones.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, because there's so many sites these days, but we
I mean, we're on Facebook, but
yeah,
like,
but Instagram is the one that we really
Instagram is our platform.
we like pictures. We like to see you.
Yeah,
we want to know who we're talking to.
Awesome, gentlemen. Binx, Christian, thank you so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to the future reaction with everything that comes out. Bringing the tour out west. The Sounds of Seven Angels comes out June 23rd, 2025. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you guys. I love what you guys are doing and everything that's coming through it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate
when
it.
we make it out there again, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I can't wait for it.